Greetings, Cub fans. Welcome to Wrigleyville South. I'm Chad. Welcome aboard. Look, I wanted to do this yesterday morning. Didn't get a chance to. Just a whole bunch of stuff got in the way, but we go undaunted. We are here. We are ready to talk about it. Seiya Suzuki is a Cub. Let's go. 5 years, $85 million. When you look at some of the contracts that are going on, are being handed out all across baseball before the lockout, and now that the lockout has concluded, this is actually a pretty cheap deal for one of the premier hitters coming out of Japan in a while. Like, this is like Hideki Matsui level, in that realm. He's played middle infield in the past, but that was in his younger years. He has moved more to a corner outfield position here in the last few years, so that's probably where he's going to end up, playing right field, maybe left field for the Cubs, because I'm not sure how they're going to handle the Hayward situation. They may have Hayward, play right field, have Suzuki, in the DH spot, or in left field, have Happ play center. There's all sorts of different options. You could have Ortega out there. I mean, there are some options that you have. Whole lot of outfield options, some depth options. And look, he could probably mix in, maybe play a little second base, maybe even play a little third in a pinch here and there. Interesting to see if David Ross is going to continue sort of in his mentor, Joe Maddon's capacity and role, where he mixed and matched a lot of pieces. And if you could play a position, look at Kris Bryant. Kris Bryant, throughout his career, he played third base, second base, first base, center field, left field, right field. He played everywhere, but he actually may have played short for a brief stint here or there, even if it was just in some of these five infielder type scenarios. But and obviously with the shift, he played over there. But the point is, if Rossi can kind of embrace that Joe Madden style tactic of bringing the best out of his offense by utilizing the versatility of his defense, you could see Suzuki playing in a lot of different spots, but he's probably going to settle into one of those corner outfield spots most of the time. And against lefties, you're definitely going to sit Hayward and play him in right field. So that's where I see this going. But the big thing is, like, this guy, you pull up his numbers, his stats are really, really impressive. Averaging somewhere in the neighborhood of 30, 35 home runs and doubles in each of the last 5 seasons, and putting OPS numbers in the 900 to 1,000 range. He's been really, really productive. One of the best hitters, like I said, to come out of Japan in a long time, if not ever. From his age 23 season. Well, no, let's go all the way back to his age 21 season in 2016. So 2016, 26 doubles, 29 homers, 8 triples, a 10-1-5. Now, I know this is Japan, but an over 1,000 OPS. Gets on base a lot too. Walks not a ton, but he can push that 75 to 100 walk mark in the majors. I see it. And he's also a good contact guy. Batting average in the 300s. His career batting average is 309, and his career on base percentage 400. His career slugging 541. But let's go back to now we'll go into his 2017 season, which was his age 22 season. 28 doubles, 26 home runs. Now this is in 480 and then 437 at bats. So only about 500 to 550 plate appearances. Then 520 plate appearances in 2018. He had 422 at bats, walked 88 times with a 320 batting average, 32 doubles, 30 homers. His age 24 season, 2019, 31 doubles, 28 homers. Then 25 season, it was 26 and 25. A little bit of a dip there, but still very productive. A 300 hitter, a 400 on base percentage, a 950 OPS. I mean, the guy mashes. I get it. It's Japan. It doesn't necessarily translate directly over to the majors, but there's a reason why this guy was highly sought after. And look at what Shohei Ohtani has done with the Angels. Now, he was a monster. He was that Ruthian type player. Everybody saw it coming out of Japan before he came over. But those numbers translated. Like he's mashing, and this guy I see Seiya Suzuki mashing as well. And then finally last year, his age 26 season, 26 doubles, 38 bombs, a 317 average, a 433 on base, 636 slugging. So as he's starting to come into his prime, he's clipping that 1,000 OPS mark. He walked 88 times, only struck out 89 times, so his plate discipline has got better. He's gone from where he was walking more than he was striking out to his last 3 seasons. He's combined for, let's see, what is that? About 260 walks and about 250 strikeouts. So there's some very positive things that I see us being able to expect there. And let's not forget, the Cubs also inked a couple, because when you have Adver Alzolay going on the shelf with the shoulder issues, he's going to be out for a while. He's already been tabbed as having maybe a 2 to 3 month injury, just to get recovery back, because it really puts a damper on your buildup in spring training. And so he's going to have to start. His spring training is probably going to start in May, so he's not going to be ready probably until June, mid-June, late June, maybe early July. So look for him around the All-Star break, maybe a little after. In the meantime, and also Cody Hyer, obviously the guy we got in the trade with the White Sox last year, really good bullpen arm, gas, Tommy John surgery, had an elbow injury over the spring while he was training individually. That stinks. Just seems like we had such a great run of pitcher health that the last couple of years have really been difficult as a Cubs fan to watch. But filling in some of those gaps, the Cubs went and got Steven Brault, former Pirate, good left-handed arm, more of an innings-eating kind of guy. He can have some days where he's really, really on, and his changeup is really working, and he's getting ground balls and he's getting outs. But realistically, he's not going to be any kind of world beater. But the Cubs needed some help on the back end of that rotation. You got Stroman, Hendricks, and then Wade Miley leading off the rotation as your top 3, and then it's going to be some sort of combination of Justin Steele, Alec Mills, and a hodgepodge of other guys, and Brault will definitely enter into that equation. And then you go get David Robertson, a little long in the tooth, but he's still productive. The guy's been productive for the last several years that he's been pitching. Had some injury issues here and there, but he's back and ready to go. They've signed him to a very cheap. Both of these are very cheap deals, and the Andrelton Simmons deal also a very cheap deal, and really helps solidify that defense. He's the elite defensive shortstop. Him and like maybe Nick Ahmed, like the best defensive shortstops in baseball. So I really look at this as the Cubs. This Seiya Suzuki signing is a signal that this is not your Theo Epstein 2011 to 2014 tank and rebuild, like destroy it down to its foundation and then build it back up as fast as you can, because we saw like that was great, but it almost flashed in the pan because it was built so quickly and there wasn't that long build of the arms in the farm system. I'm hopeful that they can start to restructure how they go about protecting those arms and building them up and making them major league ready. So we're going to see, because they've gone a lot more pitcher heavy in the draft the last few seasons. So we should see how that shapes out for the Cubs going forward. If they can develop those arms and make them major league ready, we should see a lot of that start to come. But this Suzuki signing, back to what I was saying, is a very good indication that this is not your Theo Epstein crash and rebuild really fast. This is, we're not going anywhere. We're not tanking. We're actually putting a team on the field that can be competitive right now. And I don't even think this signing, because it was so inexpensive, 5 years, $85 million, sounds like a lot of money, but $17 million a year? I mean, the Yankees are handing that out to Rizzo at the end of his career in New York. And you saw what Kris Bryant signed for with the Rockies. And shout out to Kris. Like, he's going to go nuts in Colorado. That field is so big, and like he's he's so good at spraying the ball around and driving the ball into those gaps that he's going to rack up triples, doubles, and then that ball is going to fly out of there. So he's going to get those home runs with that launch angle that he has. And I love Kris Bryant. He's always going to be a Cub favorite, obviously. Helped bring that first ring that we all got to see with our own eyes live to Chicago. But I'm really excited about this deal because $17 million a year over the course of 5 years for a guy this young entering into his prime, who has this much pedigree coming in, I think really sets the stage for an outfield that includes him and Brennan Davis. And then whether Ian Happ sticks around or whether you end up going elsewhere, you've got some building blocks there. And then with Nick Madrigal, when he's healthy and can come back, and Nico Horner, and this doesn't take you out of the Carlos Correa sweepstakes. You could still see the Cubs go out and bring in Carlos Correa. Now, personally, I'm kind of torn on that because on the one hand, he would be a really good building block, but it makes your lineup really, really right-handed heavy. And also, it really hamstrings you when it comes to building that pitching staff that they need help with if they're going to contend immediately. Now, what they could do is build that. So now you've got Suzuki, Brennan Davis on his way, and then you'd have Carlos Correa, the middle of your order, and then you have some of those contact pieces. And let's not forget, you still got Frank Schwindel, you got Patrick Wisdom, you've got some mashers, and then Ian Happ still there. And it remains to be seen what they're going to do with Willie. I really hope that they can find a way to keep Wilson Contreras in a Cub uniform, because I think he has the capability of being sort of that Pudge Rodriguez for this franchise, where even if he's not hyper productive like he has been, and I still think he's got a lot of productive years left, probably 3 or 4 solid productive years left, very productive. He's kind of in his prime right now, maybe not entering it, but he's in the middle of it right now. Doesn't seem to show signs really of tailing off a ton in his production and like how his body recovers and responds. And with the DH, you have the capability of actually having Wilson Contreras, having Yan Gomes take some of that weight off of him, take some of that load off of him, and have Willie just DH a lot. Going out and getting Yan Gomes, like there's some moves, some shrewd moves that this Jed Hoyer administration is undergoing, and I really like what I'm seeing. And there's a lot of reason to be excited about the Cubs right now. So what I'm looking for is, how do they move with these next handful of moves? Because you have a lot of money coming off the books in the next few years. And you could actually afford, now that you've gotten Suzuki locked up and you've got some of this young talent on its way, the farm system has been rebuilt over just the last couple of years through a few trades, really big trades. Now, look, I was on record as saying last year, I was fully on board. I love Kris Bryant. I love Javi. I love Anthony Rizzo. These guys are Cubs for life. I don't care where they go. They're Cubs for life. But with 1 year left on their deals, it had to be done. You had to get something for them while you could. You could not just let them go and let the qualifying offer compensation pick be your only compensation for those guys. And shout out to the Cubs. They got some talent back for those guys. But the big haul or hauls was when they were dealing some of those relievers, especially the Craig Kimbrell trade. That was huge. Getting Madrigal, getting higher, getting some of these other pieces to just kind of mix in. But we're gonna see. There's gonna be some the stuff they got from the Mets. There's gonna be some really interesting guys coming out of there. Some of them are a little ways away, but you're gonna see. I think we're gonna see some. That's going to be one of those where we'll look back in 5 years and be like, oh yeah, remember that trade? I'm not saying it's going to be on the level of the Jake Arrieta, Pedro Strop with the Orioles trade or anything like that, but it could be some really really interesting long-term solutions there that come out of those trades. But building what they built as inexpensively as they have, and then doing some of these little shrewd moves, Andrelton Simmons, Yan Gomes, these cheap starting rotation back into the rotation and middle relief to late relief arms, is really going to pay off, because then it allows you, it gives you some of that financial flexibility as some of this money starts coming off the books, that you can go get a Carlos Correa and you can pay what he's asking in that 35 million over, a year, over 10 years type of range, and still be able to afford it with what's coming off the books, and not really put yourself in a huge financial bind, because you have so much young talent coming up. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this works out. But I'm really excited about the Seiya Suzuki signing. Hope you guys are too. Leave some comments below if you so desire to chime in with your input on this. But yeah, I mean, the Cubs have a very solid middle of the order now lined up with Schwindel, Contreras, Happ, Suzuki, Wisdom. I mean, that's some mashers right there. It's very right hand heavy. Happ being the only switch hitter / lefty in there, and if they can get anything out of Clint Frazier, and Madrigal and Ortega can kind of do their things at the bookends of the order, and I guess you'll have Simmons playing shortstop. They'll probably mix him in and out, but that's with the DH coming in. You can afford. He kind of falls into that like pitcher's spot, where instead of having a pitcher there, you just have your really good defensive shortstop who can't hit a lick. So I think they'll be okay there, but it wouldn't hurt to go get a Carlos Correa to take that spot instead. It may signal that they're not going after Correa, that they went and got Simmons, but only $4 million on a 1-year deal. I could totally see them still pulling off Correa. So let's keep our fingers crossed, Cubs fans. Anyway, this has been Wrigleyville South. I am Chad. I appreciate y'all coming out, and we will catch you next time. Y'all stay cool out there. Fly the W. Peace, y'all.